But welcome. It looks like we're live on Facebook too. So to all of our Facebook friends, hello. We're glad you're here. This is Epoch's third live tasting, and I'm Kristen Darnell. I am the Vice President of Sales here at Epoch and have been with the team since 2010. So we're so excited to have you. And then I'm joined by none other than Braden. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, Braden.
Hey everybody, my name is Braden Bautista. I'm the tasting room lead and tour coordinator here at Epoch State Wines. I've been here for a good amount of time now. Started back in 2016. Started off as an intern. Before we get started, thank you, Kristen, because you were the one that first brought me on board to the whole Epoch train. So thank you so much for giving me the best job in the world and letting me continue to work here all these years. It's been a great time. So really excited to do this tasting with you.
Yeah, this is so much fun. You know, it's we all really love having you on the team. I think it's been how many years now? 4. So it's been a wonderful 4 years, and we love having you. It's kind of a fun story that Braden and I met before. So this is a fun topic for us to be talking about today. But before we get started and talk about our topic today and what we plan to do, Braden and I would like to have a game to help make it a little bit interactive for everyone. So come up with 2 buzzwords, and anytime Braden or I say these buzzwords, everyone's job is to take a sip. So be careful if you're sipping, because you know that can go quickly with the wine, and we do want to taste through as many as we can. But the 2 buzzwords are minerality and vintage. So again, we're playing a drinking game with minerality and vintage. And
vintage.
I'll go ahead and talk about the topic today. So today we are popping some corks on the 2009 vintage.
There it is.
Cheers.
I like this game. Let's keep playing. This is fun.
Yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. So 2009, that I think now, what year are we in? It's about 11 years ago. And
whoa, there you are.
I know, we keep forgetting what year we were in. So 2009, 11 years ago. And Braden, I talked about how when I met you 4 years ago, you were not yet 21. So tell us, what were you doing in 2009?
2009, right around this time, we're looking at May, I was probably finishing up junior high. And then from there, I was starting my freshman year in high school. So definitely not even close to even a sip of wine yet. You know, it's kind of always around wine with my family during dinners and events and stuff, but I didn't really have a good perception of what wine was. And, you know, it wouldn't be until a lot later, especially here at Epoch in 2016, that I kind of started to gain that. So that was I wasn't doing a lot in 2009. I mean, really kind of just handling young adolescent ages and going into my teenage years. But what were you doing, K2? What were you doing, Kristen, back in?
Oh gosh. Okay. So, well, first of all, for anyone who isn't familiar, who hasn't met me before or, you know, been part of Epoch. So Epoch was founded in 2007. So 2009 was our second vintage that we were making wine. And I joined the team in 2010. But really quickly, one of my nicknames here at Epoch is K2. So if you hear Braden say K2, he's talking to me. And yeah, so 2009, I lived in 2 cities that year. So I started 2009 in Boston and decided I wanted to move closer to home, which was Albuquerque. And so decided, I needed that big city lifestyle, which is now ironic, but picked Denver. So little did I know that choice to move from Boston to Denver would lead me to this. So that was a great decision looking back. And, it's exciting to be here 11 years later, which is kind of insane, drinking 2009 wine. But yeah, what was happening in the world during that time, Braden?
Well, let's take a look. 2009 was a pretty crazy year, especially for entertainment. We got a couple of fun facts here. Let's take a look at the top box office movies domestically. here in the States. So we're looking at the top 5. We had Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen. That was a long saga of movies. We had Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So going on, a long line of Harry Potter fandom going on there. Number 3, we had a great little Disney classic, Pixar, Up. Everyone knows Up.
Always a good one.
Phenomenal film. Number 4, we had Twilight, New Moon. So we were all on a vampire kick in 2009. Never watched the movies, told they were great.
Oh, and then, see, Braden, you don't even know what team you were on.
I kind of just hopped in on the bandwagon, and I was
Team Jacob?
I'll admit. I wasn't into the vampires. I don't know, just all the way. Number 5, which I thought was phenomenal, Avatar, a whole CGI, whole experience there. That was a great movie.
That was really cool.
And then we had a little bit of other entertainment. We had the top songs of 2009. So the year-end top, plays, pretty much the most popular on all the radio stations. We had Boom Boom Pow by Black Eyed Peas. That was the party song of that year. Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Everyone knows the lyrics to that one.
Yeah.
Just Dance by Lady Gaga. So number 2. Oh, look at this. Another Black Eyed Peas. I Got a Feeling. And then number 5, we got Love Story by Taylor Swift.
Well, those sound like good songs to get you dancing. And, I think these wines and Epic Second Vintage had a lot of inspiration from that, right? The wine gives us all a feeling. But great. So in 2009, as I mentioned, Epic, it was our second vintage. Jordan Fiorentini, our current winemaker, she joined in 2010. So this was right before Jordan. We had a winemaker named David Jelinek at the time, and he harvested the grapes. And we'll get into what kind of the growing season was and what harvest looked like. But for all of our fans out there, I do want to make you reassured that Jordan did taste all of these wines. She blended them and bottled. So she definitely had a fingerprint in each one of these wines. And, Braden and I clearly tasted the wines before we got into it today. And I think both of us were really excited to see kind of that Jordan flair in the wines as well. So that's kind of where Epic was in 2009 as well. So let's see. Should we talk about the vintage next?
Oh, I think you're hitting the V word a lot in there.
Oh gosh,
Hey, it means we're already having a fun time playing the game.
Yeah, I'm not keeping track of my own game.
Well, the 2009 was the growing season. We'll refer to it as that for now. 2009 was for California a little hectic. A vintage that, dang it,
Sips.
A growing year that kind of posed some problems. In 2009, kind of towards the picking era, towards the picking time of the year, a big typhoon was coming, and so. A lot of rains were kind of coming through the systems through California. And so it got hit pretty hard up in Napa. And so it was kind of crazy and hectic up there, but definitely down in Paso it was pretty similar. And one of the main, challenges that a lot of winemakers faced was, do we pick now or do we wait till after the rains? Are we ripe enough now or do we, risk that chance of picking? So depending on who you were, depending on kind of your style that you were making, you either picked and you got some great fruit from it. All the phenolics, all the chemistry was right on point, and it made some really good wines. Other places, you might have waited a little too long and it might not have made the greatest wines. But in general, I think a lot of people, especially people down in Paso, are looking back at that year and saying, of all the decisions that happened, all the wines turned out great, especially for the Epic wines, because our winemakers at that time, they did pick. They did do that picking before those rains came. And so we got them right in on time. And as Jordan said, when she was tasting through all the wines, it was reflective of that. There was really good balance. There's no dilution in the wine. All of them had really good flavor. And that's really what we saw in 2009 for our harvest, at least.
Yeah, which is, I think that, I've worked with Jordan for a very long time. And I will say that is one thing that has been really great that I think that it's a second intuition that she knows when to pick. But a number of times, and I have more stories than I can count of Jordan saying, okay, I'm going to pick now. It might feel a little bit early, kind of like 2009, but it ended up being a really great decision that paid off in spades. So, that year actually, I guess I should say 2009 was our third vintage. Caught that one. Because we made wine in 2007, 2008, and then 2009. So 2007, we made about 800 cases of wine. 2008, we got close to, 1,200 cases of wine. And then 2009, we were at 4,200 cases of wine. So still really small production. I remember, because of when I joined and when wine is harvested, I've been at Epoch and been part of the sales of each one of these years. And so I remember making that jump from 2008 to 2009 and thinking, oh my goodness, 4,200 cases is like crazy. Today we're about 6,500. So we're not astronomically higher than that number, but I do remember thinking, oh gosh, here we go. We're making, quite a bit more wine. And then later through the years, I remember at some point before we opened this tasting room where Braden and I are both sitting, someone said, do you think we'll ever do library tastings in the new tasting room? And I was like, gosh, that is a great idea. But in order for us to do that, we need to save some wine. So that day I went through and I, moved the wine so that no one would accidentally pour it or sell it. And, today we have these wines. Right now, these wines, we do have a very small amount of them left. They are available on our website. They come in a gift set. So it's a 3-pack gift set with a wooden box. But that was, a decision we made years later to hold a little bit back so that we could revisit and sell the wine. So whatever you're drinking, if you want to put it in the chat so that Braden and I know, and we can know what you're tasting. And then a quick fun reminder for all of our friends on Facebook that we are playing a little bit of a drinking game. So anytime Braden or I say vintage or minerality, take a sip. So with that, let's get to the 2009 authenticity. Oh, good. It looks like Mark's got the 2009 authenticity open as well. Oh, sorry. We're starting with Ingenuity. What am I thinking? Our game's already getting the best of us. So 2009 Ingenuity, Elliot's got that. We saw you guys on the video earlier. 2009 Ingenuity. So I have that bottle. And here we go there. Our labels have evolved over the years, but you can see that 2009 label. Braden, what are you getting off the nose here?
Honestly, it has everything that you're expecting from an Ingenuity. It's that Syrah forwardness, Grenache Mourvedre kind of playing into balance there, and then you got the Petite Syrah in there too. 2009 is a fun vintage because it kind of set the framework for a lot of future vintages of Ingenuity, because that's when Jordan was coming in. She was doing all this crazy blending. She had to do a lot of the blending barrel by barrel based on what had happened in a couple decision making with the initial fermentations and stuff. And so this is really starting to be the initial craft of Ingenuity. And so again, a lot of dark blue fruit in there. You got the kind of pepperiness from the Syrah that you're expecting too, earthier tones as well. Definitely a savory side of Ingenuity. And with the Petite Syrah in there, tannins, you expect them to really just kind of rip all the enamel off your teeth, get all the moisture out of there. But it's mellowed out a little bit. It's still a really strong wine. The tannins are still present. It's still got a tannic backbone, but I think it's mellowed out and it's really, really soft, really velvety, just all around great aged Ingenuity.
Yes, it's tasting so good right now. I think a few people have it open, which is really fun. the Ingenuity from vintage to vintage really kind of started with this personality of Petite Syrah. So as Braden mentioned, there is Syrah, Grenache, Mourvedre, and then Petite Syrah. This vintage has 12% Petite Syrah. And then depending on the year, there might be a splash of Zinfandel. So the 09 does have that splash of Zinfandel, which I think helps keep the fruit like nice and fresh and bright right now. For me, on the nose and then on that first sip, I really just didn't even think that it was a 2009. I think it's tasting really great right now. And yeah, that Petite Syrah.
We got a chat comment coming in. Vintage, and again, vintage.
Oh gosh. Okay, so there's three.
We're making people have fun with the game. So
we'll do three little cheers and one big sip. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we're gonna do that really fast. People paying attention. I like it. We're on.
Really good. Okay, so from here, now we're going to authenticity. But really quick, before we leave Ingenuity, I do want to say, I don't know if you're on our email list, you got the email today, and then this week we posted on social media, but Sabrina, who's one of our interns right now, she created a really great Epoch personality quiz. So you go through and you answer questions, and then at the end, it tells you which wine are you. And I'm really happy to announce that I was Ingenuity. So, I love this wine even more. So cheers to that. Oh, it's got great minerality. Cheers to that. Okay, so from here, let's go to authenticity. Braden.
So we got 2009 authenticity right here. Authenticity is kind of a semi-block designated wine for those of you that aren't familiar with it. So a lot of the fruit does come from typically one portion of Paderewski Vineyard, call it Authenticity Hill. Really steep slopes, really great sun exposure. This is kind of the brighter, more intense side of our Syrah compared to the deeper, earthier side. I like the block B that you might taste and enjoy. Mostly Syrah, then you got Mourvedre. So always a Syrah dominant, Mourvedre supported blend in there. Just a note to add as we're tasting through these wines and, kind of tasting some of our oldest labels, it's really cool to kind of taste these and take a trip back in time, because not only was our fruit a little younger, but our winemaking scene was a little bit different too. Everything was made over with our friends over at Denner. And so we were using their space. And, during those times we were, making wine with some of the big names out here. We got Scott Hawley over at Torrin. We got Amy Butler. We got Jacob Toft. Of course, Anthony over there too. We had all of our friends kind of working closely with us to, make our own individual wines, but kind of support each other at the same time. So it's just a fun little kind of nostalgic thing to see and to talk about,
To think about, which was really fun. Our dinner days were so much fun, and we're so grateful to have that time, in the great space, but also that, the epitome of what Paso is. So it's, bouncing ideas off of one another. It's like, if one of us does well, we all do well. So we're always sharing. I think even today in the tasting room, we're constantly referring people to our friends. And so, it's stories like this, like, oh my gosh, 11 years ago, we made wine under the same roof. And, that was then, and, you can talk about those things. So it's kind of fun to do that. We've got some really fun chat going on. I just want to tell Sally, I think during this time of shelter at home, I've really gotten into, the memes. And I think it was a meme/video about putting, you can pour some wine in a coffee cup and you cut the top of a tea bag off and tape it. And then when you're on a Zoom call, people just think you're drinking tea. So just in case you want to pop a cork and join us, there's a little camouflage action going on there.
That's a great idea. Listen, I love that.
Authenticity for me is, we've really got these bright fruits, which is really exciting. I think, that Syrah Mourvedre combo, the Mourvedre brings a little bit more of obviously that structure, but I think that the Syrah from this specific block has always just really sung to me as kind of like this really gorgeous, soft, pure expression of a Syrah. So this Syrah comes from block 4A. And believe it or not, it's on the Paderewski Vineyard, but it is almost the exact opposite hill from our Block 13, which is the Block B wine, which we'll taste next. So Jordan always likes to say that these two blocks are kind of the yin and yang of one another. Obviously, they're both Syrah. Obviously, they're both on Paderewski, both really gorgeous in their own ways, but both bringing, you know, those really subtle differences that are really exciting to taste side by side. So, you know, I hope that Braden and I can kind of describe what those differences and similarities are between these wines. But Authenticity is a west-facing hillside. So it's getting more of the afternoon sun, where Block B is getting that morning sun. So I think for the 2009, still really beautiful fruit. Of course, I think our wines always have a really great tannin structure. And, you know, on the younger wines, it's kind of like what Braden was saying, like, it's kind of like really just like, you can really feel it on your tongue. It really kind of sucks the moisture out. For me, the tannins have really softened beautifully, like you were saying.
I agree. But you still have, you know, even though, because a lot of times with wines of this age, we kind of can see fruit dying off a little bit, but these are all still really strong in them, you know, really dark blue fruits, bright red fruits. You get a good combination of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Syrah and Mourvedre are just playing really well. There's also a balance in these guys too. Jordan said that the last time she tasted them, that was one thing that she really loved about them, is that all the different parts were kind of coming together and aging in a perfect kind of harmony and a good balance, so that, you know, the acid wasn't taking over the wine or the tannins weren't taking over the wine. They're still all playing really well in there. And I think Authenticity is a great solid example. All of them are great examples of that, the Authenticity especially.
Yeah, exactly. The Gurkey said chewy, which I totally agree with. It's, you know, I think our Syrahs are always this hearty wine, but the minerality in them gives them kind of, you know, allows them to be a little bit lighter on their toes. Oh,
Minerality.
minerality.
Nice, Lindsay, you're paying attention. I like it.
So that M word, you know, if anybody's just joining us, we're playing a little bit of a drinking game. Whenever Braden or I say minerality or vintage, take a sip. So I think that helps really carry the freshness of the wine over as well, and keep it really that bright fruit that we're talking about, even on these 2009 wines, which is really great. And I just said it again. Thank you, John.
I love it. Kristen, I do got a question for you.
Sure.
About the Authenticity. I keep wanting to go to this, and I'm really excited when we drink this one. But with Authenticity, your ideal night, you know, on your back patio. You ever been to Kristen's house? She has a phenomenal back patio. It's beautiful, great sunset.
Thank you.
What are you gonna eat with this? What's your kind of go-to kind of food?
Yeah, that is a great question. I see Elliot just suggested jalapeno chips pair best, or which one do they pair best with, Ingenuity or Block B?
Pair best with me, Elliot, if you want to bring some by.
Yeah, we can have a little snack time. So for me, the Authenticity, this is a wine that we don't open very often. And, you know, I've had conversations recently because we've, you know, during this time reorganized our wine collection. So we need to be opening more. But usually when we open it, it's, you know, something that we just sit and talk about, and we talk about the wine. So we don't always pair it with something, which sounds like really probably silly. But I think that these wines are obviously big and bold, and they always go with a really nice grilled steak. I think especially as we're getting into the summer nights, and grilling is like the best thing to do with the sunshine and being outdoors and the fresh air. So that's always a really nice go-to with Authenticity. I don't, what would you pair it with, Braden? I wasn't prepared for that one.
That's spot on. I mean, all these wines are going to be great with food. I feel like all of our wines are kind of very, very food friendly, especially at these age too. But the amount of, you know, you kind of got some herbs in this on the nose in this wine. I think any type of grilled meats and maybe some
Baby back ribs.
Oh, stop. That sounds too good. Oh, there. Yeah. Harlan, good call. Good call. That steak, any type of grilled kind of herby foods would be really good.
Really good, really good. Okay, well, this is so much fun. I think that when we talk about the authenticity, what's really fun about Ingenuity and Authenticity is that these are two wines that we made from 2007 and have continued to make ongoing. So they were with us that first year, and then in 2008, and then obviously in 2009, which is really fun. But I think what's really, as we move to the next wine, a fun fact is Block B, which is a 100% Syrah wine. We'll talk more exactly about the wine, but this wine joined our lineup in 2008. So it wasn't in that first vintage. That first vintage, I said it twice. Sorry. Drinking game, vintage or minerality. It doesn't count when I'm explaining the game. So sip to that. John, on purpose. These wines are delicious. I feel like, I usually savor them. So this is kind of like different than what I normally do. So if you want to savor your sips, that's good too. So Block B joined the lineup in 2008. It is 100% Syrah, 100% from our Paderewski vineyard, 100% from Block 13 on that vineyard. So as I mentioned, it faces Block 4A, which is where Authenticity comes from. And so the two look at each other. So really we're getting different aspects. Jordan would know the specifics off the top of her head on the different clones. I do think that they are slightly different clones, but I wouldn't be able to recall that off of memory.
We're looking at I'm blanking on that too, the clones.
Yeah.
We'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
We did have a question though, Kristen. Should we be letting these wines breathe for some time, or do we need to aerate them? I think as far as these guys go, we opened these. We're looking at probably like an hour and a half ago. Yeah, like a little around an hour and a half ago. So they've had some time to breathe, just kind of in bottle, because kind of the older wines, you're kind of worried if they break down too much. If you're drinking any of these guys when they're a little younger, you're looking at maybe 2013 and on up until now. So 13 all the way through maybe 2016 if you got them. Definitely probably give them a little more time than that, get them into a decanter, get them some air in there, because it'll definitely help. I don't know, the folks at home that have opened the 2009s, I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing, but these guys tasted great right out of the bottle. Yeah. I mean, they needed a few minutes to maybe really open up to kind of, come out of their shell, but I don't think you needed to hit them too hard with the air. What do you think, KT?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I think, obviously we've been opening some more wine at home than we normally do on any night. And so what I've really noticed is that, what I would say is right from the cork pull, but obviously you pull the cork, you taste it, you pour a glass, you go to wherever you're going to sit or enjoy the wine. But it's ready to go right from that. And I'm noticing that on the 2009s, 2010s, and the 2011s. So I think all three of those are kind of right in that, kind of ready to go wheelhouse. 11s and 12s, like, Braden said 13s and on. And I think 11s and 12s, it's kind of just pull the cork, give it a sip. And then from there, if, depending on your preference, and when dinner's going to be ready, or whatever else you've got going on, there's always so many other factors when you pop a cork. Those wines could be have some time for air, or they might be ready to go right from there. So that was a great question. That was really good. Great. So Block B, oh my gosh, this wine is immediately just beautiful, velvety. It's a big wine, but it's really softened and showing some really great complexities. A lot of layers right now. Still beautiful fruit. I wouldn't again think it's 09, so I'm still getting some more of those fresh fruit tastes versus something that's has age on it, even though these wines have been laying down for 11 years.
I agree. And I think for, a lot of times when you're looking at a single grape wine, varietal varietal Syrah. You know, a lot of people say sometimes, you know, because we do blend so well here at Epoch, and we're always blending all different types of wines, all different types of grapes. But I think for what you're getting with complexity for the Block B, it's hard to beat when it comes down to a single grape wine. 100% Syrah. It's got all the different sides of Syrah that you want. You got the kind of reductive peppery side. You got the bright fruit side. You got the deep earthier components in there too. Minerality. It kind of exemplifies.
I was already in that. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Definitely exemplifies all things that Epoch wines can be and are.
Yes, I think I agree. This is, you know, another wine that we don't open too often at home, and we need to open more of it. Every time I take a sip, I'm like, oh, I fall in love with this wine. And it's really just opening up. I think in Jordan's tasting notes, when she wrote about these wines, she said that this wine could age 15 plus years. So what's fun about today is that 11 years later, we actually get to taste the wine and kind of test that theory. And so for me, I definitely think this wine could age another 4 years. You know, I am not a fortune teller, but I would think it could even age for longer than that. But it is tasting so good right now that I don't know if I could really hang on to it much longer after taking a sip tonight, or a number of sips. But that's kind of, you know, a kind of fun look back at the tasting notes and where we are today, which is fun.
Looks like Jordan hopped in the chat too. So Block B is clone 174. For those of you that aren't familiar with clones are just different, you know, genetic expressions of one grape. And so if you want a certain Syrah to taste a certain way or even grow better in a certain climate, you use a certain clone for that, just because it's fitting, or maybe you kind of want to get that expression out of it. And clone 174 is just great for that site in Paderewski, just because, again, it gets you all the things you want out of your site and all the things you want out of your Syrah, so the deep complexities and all that. So thank you, Jordan, for clarifying.
Yes, that's so much fun. We've been talking about how authenticity is on 4A and Block B is on Block 13. And so that was a perfect time with a clone answer there, which is really perfect and so much fun to talk about. Well, Braden, did we only open 3 wines today? That doesn't seem like us.
That doesn't seem right. Oh, hey, what's this over here? I knew we were doing more than that. We got one more for you guys. I don't know if you have it open in your cellar or if you got it down in your cellar, but if you want to run and grab it real quick, go grab it. This is 2009 Estate Blend. So Estate Blend, the all-around Epoch, the one you know and love, always great every single year. We're going to Corvin this bad boy right here real quick. This is one of our Corvin models that we have. So we're going to give it a little taste here today.
Yeah, so quick poll of everybody joining us, or if you have a Corvin, are you Corvining or are you just enjoying the bottle? Oh, look at this, the Gurkies, the 14 Block B. Yes, that sounds delicious. Bottle, yeah. It's a you know, it's a bottle time of life.
So this is the one that even
always a bottle, yes.
Label's definitely different too, so you can see where we've come from our old estate blends till now. If you guys are curious on the blends, usually, you know, the staple for the estate blend: Syrah, Grenache, Mourvèdre, Tempranillo, and Zinfandel. Zinfandel kind of sneaks its way in and out of the bottle depending on the year. For this one, I'll give you the exact breakdown: 60% Syrah, 19% Grenache, 9% Tempranillo, 8% Zinfandel, and 4% Mourvèdre in there for you. So again, all around Epoch, everything you want from Epoch and its land in a bottle. A snapshot of the harvest season, really trying to give you an idea of what went on in that vintage.
A nice sweeping glimpse. So something I didn't talk about the Block B is how it got its name, but before I talk about that, I think what's really fun with the estate blend, as Braden said, and as I mentioned earlier, is our labels have evolved over the years. So, you know, little things like the block is slightly bigger, but to, you know, kind of more maybe drastic changes that now it just says Epoch on the front. So if you have any of our newer wines, you'll see that. But what's fun about the estate blend is if you look really closely, you know, all of our blocks are the names of our wines kind of jumbled up. So in this block, it actually says Epoch Estate. And I think it was in 2011 is when it starts to say Estate Blend. So if you have the estate wine at home, the estate blend, you can, you know, kind of line them up and look at the different labels. And, you know, you kind of have to look a little bit closer to see how the Epoch Estate and the estate blend have evolved in that. But kind of a little fun fact for people at home to check out. And all right. So also going back to Block B, sorry, I should have probably talked about this earlier. You know, I mentioned block 13 on the vineyard, and in the vineyard, we number our blocks. Every now and then we might do a number and a letter if we split a block, like 4A. So going back to the authenticity block and it receiving a 4A. But block B comes from block 13. So way back when, like 11 years ago, just kidding. Block B was a wine, and the Syrah grapes from this block, whenever Jordan would try to blend them into any other wine, the Syrah would just overpower that blend. And so it was quickly, you know, kind of one of those like doesn't play well with others kind of Syrah grape, which actually turned out to be a good thing. So we put it on an extended aging process and weren't sure what to call it. So at the time we were unsure what to call it. And so we were just referring to it by the block name. We called it block 13. We sent it to review by our good friend, Jeb Dunnick. And he was the first, you know, critic to review any of our wines in 2007, but he reviewed the block 13 wine. So if you ever are writing quickly, your 1 and 3 could easily get scrunched together, especially if you're drinking wine. So when Jeb went to post his review on the wine, he posted the review as block B instead of block 13. So for us, we were reading the review and we were like, oh gosh, you know, minor typo, no big deal. From the kind of trademarking standpoint, we have, you know, all of our fanciful names trademarked. We went to trademark the block 13 name. And of course it was taken. So, you know, what are we to do? So we talked about it a lot. Gosh, you know, what's the next step? And Bill and Liz, the owners of Epoch, said, well, we have a score for a block B wine. Maybe that's available. And lo and behold, block B was available, and, you know, the rest is history. So I like to say, if you're playing our drinking game, if you drink the bottle by yourself, the label here will start to separate, and you'll really see that 1 and the 3 and get both of them. You'll see that difference. So, which is funny. Which block does Ingenuity Syrah come from? Elliot, that's a great question. Because block B and authenticity is 80% Syrah, block B is 100% Syrah. We talk about their exact blocks a lot. Ingenuity would be like a longer list, so to say, that makes it into those blends, but those two blocks always go into those wines. Jordan might have a little bit of an idea walking through the vineyard, like this block typically goes into Ingenuity. Obviously the Petite Syrah is a big factor in that wine. And so the Petite Syrah all goes into the Ingenuity. I think we've made a creativity with Petite Syrah, so that's why I hesitated on the all. But those Petite Syrah blocks are that driving factor. I don't have those ones memorized though. So
I don't have them memorized a little bit. That's kind of the same process. Like we go through the vineyard, Jordan goes through the vineyard, and she could tell you, you know, these blocks typically have more of this flavor character to kind of contribute to an Ingenuity blend, or this Syrah will go to the estate blend. It all depends on the year too. Certain blocks might give us a little stronger backbones for certain wines, but there are certain blocks that typically go through that.
But Elliot, I'm gonna find that answer out for you, and I'll email you so that you know. Word. Great. Okay, so back to 09 Estate Blend.
I was hoping we'd dive into this because it's just smelling great. It's just fun. It's a fun wine.
That's a good one. I will say that, this is one of my favorite parts of my job. It's, often hard to call what I do a job. I do think that what we're doing today, Braden, probably most of my family and friends think that this is what we do every day and maybe all day, but it's not.
We're working right now?
Oh yeah, we're working. Did you know that?
That's funny.
Let's cheers to that.
Cheers to that, yeah. Man, that's really good. That's really good. Anyway.
Oh, Natalie, all are great, but what is your favorite? Let me go back. I feel like I should say Ingenuity because it was my personality, but on the quiz, but I'm probably going to pick something different. Yes, Wes, we do have a tough job tonight.
I got a Estate Blend on that quiz. I was pretty happy with that. This is a Estate Blend right here. It probably is at my second out of the entire lineup. They're all phenomenal. Everyone that knows and loves Block B, or if you're a real Block B person, to me, Block B is hard to beat right now. It really is. It's my favorite. Yeah, it's always got that really nice velvety finish on it with the Syrah. I think I'm going to pick Authenticity. I'm getting a little bit more of maybe I know that these words are used often, but kind of those cowboy flavors, a little bit more leather right now. Braden's laughing at me. Yeah, how are you? Just the chat.
Thanks, John.
Again, if you're just tuning in on Facebook Live, welcome to our 2009 tasting right here. If you're just hopping in, we're doing a little fun game. Every time we say vintage or minerality, we're taking a little sip of the wine. Whatever wine you got at home, doesn't have to be these, but if you want to join in, play along, because we still got some time. We're still gonna be tasting these wines a little bit.
Yeah, I'm, because of, social distancing and everything like that, Braden and I each only have 2 bottles. So Braden's got his visible right there and I've got mine. So, yeah, that's kind of fun. It's funny that you pick the Block B and I have that wine, and then I pick the Authenticity and you have that wine. So maybe it's a combination of, our favorites or what, you want what you can't have kind of thing.
Oh.
So I'll take another sip of Block B if you take another sip of Authenticity for me.
That's something I can agree with. I'm not going to argue with that. You're sure Braden doesn't have 3? I don't know what you're talking about, John.
Oh yeah, that's funny, John. Okay, so Estate Blend, getting back to that, we did announce that we are going to do a drawing tonight. So a winner from Facebook and a winner from Zoom. If you're joining us, our Becky, who's our events coordinator, obviously events aren't happening right now, but she is now our social media guru, and she's behind the scenes making this all possible. And so she's gone ahead and drawn the names. So we're really excited that a 2009 bottle of Estate Blend is going to, all right, from Zoom, Sally Spiro. Sally, are you still here? Is that fun to do a little roll call? And then from Facebook, Bev Pearson. And I know that they're joining us from Florida, so that's great. That's really fun. So we will be in touch I think that we probably have y'all's info on file. If we don't, you can reach out to us. I would just email rsvp@epicwines.com. And yeah, Sally, we'll make sure we get the wine to both of you. So cheers to y'all.
Yeah.
2009 vintage.
Vintage, yeah.
Sorry, Braden.
Pearsons, I hope you guys are doing good out there in Florida too. I know you probably a little quieter. Fireworks aren't going off all the time. They said they just moved close to Disneyland last time I saw them, so probably a little quieter with them right now. But glad you got the win on that one. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. A few fun other facts that we have going on at Epic. Braden was able to show y'all how the Corvin works. I know most of us are in the bottle, you know, kind of mindset. But our tasting room team is still working, you know, all this great content on Facebook, on our blog, on videos. They're, you know, the masterminds behind that. I think you've probably seen Braden do a few funny cameos on that. But the team has launched virtual interactive private tastings. So what that means is you and whoever's in your household, and then if you have friends in other households, you guys can schedule a tasting. It would be virtual, it would be on Zoom. And probably within the next week or so, we will add to our online store a tasting pack. So it'll have 3 wines with a Corvin. So that way you can do the tasting. You don't have to pop 3 corks, but you can still join us and we can still sip and talk wine. And that is a little bit more of a one-on-one versus this large group live tasting that we're having tonight. So stay tuned for that on our online store. But if you want to go ahead and start booking those virtual tastings, you can do that on our website as well. So really fun about that. Braden really spearheaded those fun packs. So I'm very excited to get them announced. They have some really fun names. One of them is called Quarantine Nights, which, you know, you can't go wrong with that. Let's see, do we have any other questions? But our next live tasting will be on May 28th, and that'll be with our tasting room manager, Nicole, and then Becky, who I mentioned earlier, our events manager, who is, you know, taking over social media for us and helping with that. And they will be tasting rosé and doing yoga. So if you want to join us, that's going to be May 28th. Again, another Thirsty Thursday, and we'll do a little bit of, you know, exercise, I guess. And some obviously wine tasting. Oh, Elliot, do we plan to continue virtual tastings after they go back to normal? You know, that is really our goal. That's been something I've talked about internally with the team a lot as we've come up with all of these really fabulous ideas that I want. You know, obviously there are some things, we probably won't do them as often as we are right now, but we do hope to continue them. I think a lot of the really great things that we've kind of added to our sales side, we hope that we can continue those. So the goal is, yes, that these continue. So you know, that's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. Oh yes, and then Jordan, yes, tomorrow Jordan's going to be with the PRWCA, so that's our local Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance group. They're the ones that kind of help, you know, wrangle all of us wineries together and keep us on the same page. And so she's doing a tasting with them tomorrow, and that's at 3 p.m. So join Jordan. She's gonna focus in on vessels. So at Epic, we use, you know, a lot of concrete, but we do use oak, stainless steel. Oh yeah, Braden's got a great example right behind him. So that should be a really good conversation too. Let's see. Michelle asked, what years are ready to drink now? Let's see, all of them, but you know, that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek answer. Jordan does make our wines with the ability that they're drink now. Obviously, like the adage, patient pays off. So I love, at home, we've focused on the 9s, 10s, and 11s, and those are pretty much wiped out. We're moving into the 12s right now. And so that's kind of my sweet spot. I think I'm liking that kind of probably for us at Epoch, like that 6 to 8 year from vintage to, you know, current year. I kind of like that time frame. But that's my personal preference. You know, that's what's great about wine. You know, some people like a little bit more of a younger wine that's more fruit forward, or maybe a little bit more age. So that's kind of where we're at. But yeah, there we go. There we go. Where can we find that link to Jordan? So we should have it on our social media page, and then I think we'll probably, I know it's somewhere in our blog. I'm not sure what blog post it is, but you can find it on our website under news and then blog, or on social media. The PRWCA should have it. Oh, good, you found it. Okay, great. All right, let's see. I'm like feeling like I might have missed a question or two.
Got any Facebook questions or anyone else?
Oh, good. Harlan really likes our YouTube videos. Haven't those been really fun? I mean, the creativity from our team with videos and production and putting them together has been really outstanding. So that's been really fun to watch, literally. That's fun. That's fun. Oh, some hats and shirts on the website, John. Yeah, that's on our list. Right now we're focusing on the wine, but that's on our list. If you need something, just email us and we'll make sure you're taken care of. We are taking phone orders right now. So even if you're doing a shipment, we can help with that. Making sure that the phones are being answered every day, 9 to 5. And we can, you know, take a phone order and do a shipment. Obviously, we're also doing curbside pickup. So that's daily 10 to 2 if you wanted to do that. But just give us a call or send us an email and we'll make sure you're taken care of. Great. Yeah, if we continue to do these virtual tastings, I guess one of my big questions is what would everybody like the topics to be? Because I think for us, we have so many things to talk about at Epoch. You know, we have a lot of history, so we have a lot of stories and kind of our history chapters. We've got, you know, the stories in the winery and the tasting room. I think we just did a blog post on bees. So we're doing, you know, a lot of, you know, kind of our animals, so to say, and how they play into everything. So that would be really great for us to know.
Topics coming in. We can, yeah, that would be awesome. Giving you a full breakdown of the whole Epoch history, the York Mountain history. We got the contrast of the vineyards. Really, I mean, you know, we've been talking about blocks and Paderewski through a lot of this tasting, and because a lot of it has to do with the fact that authenticity and block B come from specific blocks at Paderewski, but we still have a lot of combinations of catapult in here as well. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we'll probably provide some more info on the York Mountain vineyard up here because that's just been doing some phenomenal things. We've been bringing in phenomenal fruit up there. So that's a great topic as well. Thank you for including that. And then vertical tastings, we'll visit that. We'll visit that topic. One of our virtual private tasting hacks with the Corbin might include that. We'll see what we can do for you.
Very good, very good. Well, I think we're gonna stop the Facebook Live. So to all of our Facebook friends, thank you for joining us. We hope you had a good time. We hope that you have a great vintage. I know the 2020 vintage seems a little crazy. That's twice for our little drinking game. But we're glad you joined us and we hope to see you soon. And so I think, you know, we'll go ahead and stop that. Braden and I will continue to answer questions.